Hey guys, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to my channel again. So I'm going to talk about my grandma BJ. So recently, yesterday, she just passed away, and that's all since she probably had a breathing problem and her strength fell apart, and that's all. So she has passed away somehow, since she had a long, full life somehow. But she was from Oakland, California. And then my dad used to live in California when the family of them were living there. But my dad's brother lives in California, and then he works for Domino's like I do. So my grandma BJ, she used to fly out and take a vacation to visit us like once a month. And speaking of that, the funny thing I really felt was that she lived at an airport, an Oakland airport. But no, we can't live at the airport. I don't know why I get that idea of people living at the airport, though. But she used to live in Oakland in the house, and then her husband's name was Remy. Since he passed away 7 years ago. 7 years ago, back in December, since he somehow had dementia. There's at times he gets happy, angry, sad, or any emotions, how he gets in, and he had to scare my grandma BJ off, and the way he was almost the end of his life, since my grandma had to move to assisted living. Well, before she moved to an assisted living, she started to fall a lot since 7 years ago. I think she fell in the bathroom, how she went to the bathroom, she was getting some dizziness, and she used to get dizzy a lot at some point. And, well, I think 10 years ago, she started to get kind of dizzy and fall apart, how she had to stop driving for now on. And then she came back to visit Arizona back in 2015, 10 years ago, when my dad started to do well again. And I think she stayed at the hotel or something. Yeah, she stayed at the hotel when my dad was living somewhere in Scottsdale with his girlfriend, though. So she actually has a YouTube channel of filming her videos, and she has videos of my brother and I as kids throughout the memories. Since I watched her channel the other day, seeing me so young like that, I look so different. And although usually I don't want to hear my high voice, how annoying it gives me like crap or something. But my grandma was a great cook at breakfast and dinner and stuff like that. And then she made good chicken rice with some cream in it. And she's cooked for a lot of years. And also her husband was a great cook at all times. And I bet they love cooking for themselves and cooking dinner for everybody. And then when my dad used to live at the house where my mom's dad bought for 13 years, my grandma used to stay at our house when she came and visit us once a month when we were young. And then till when my dad had to move to an apartment right right after when he broke his foot, she stayed at the hotel. And we once swam at her hotel once, and she had some good hotels, and we used to go out to this nice fancy restaurants a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure she loved Applebee's somehow. We used to go to Applebee's every month when she came and visit us. And then we like to go to Outback Steakhouse. Stuff like that. And definitely she had family in California, and then she used to borrow one of my grandma's car, my first grandma's car, back then when she came and visited us for quite a while, and then she's half of the time, and then she rented a car to visit us, and then besides, we used to pick her up from the airport somehow. And I remember she brought her husband out in the airport, out to see us, and it was a good time somehow. And I don't remember what we did other than we went bowling, we went hiking, and we played some tennis, since my grandma played tennis and she loved to jog and stuff like that as her exercise. And so she's lived where she lived at in Oakland for some years, till 7 years ago, back in 2018, how she got sick and started being dizzy to fall apart, and then she moved to an assisted living in Santa Rosa. And she lived in Santa Rosa in assisted living for quite a while. And then after Santa Rosa, she moved to Rohnert Park, where we visited her and stuff like that. And then back when we got to see her back in 2018, we flew to Santa Rosa Airport, since we never been there before, but my dad doesn't remember that, but I do. I remember Santa Rosa Airport. And then we visited her back in 2020. It was me, my brother, my first grandma, and my mom, and it was really awesome, and depends what we did. We went to some kind of museum, and we saw my dad's brother, since I got to re-meet him again back in 2016, since my brother, my mom, and I went to see my grandma in Oakland and stay at some kind of house, and that's all. And we took the BART in Oakland and go to San Francisco or some, or depends. And then we took the BART to the mall. Oh yeah, so back in 2012, my dad, brother, and I, at the end of May, went to go visit my grandma BJ in Oakland, and we stayed a few nights in Oakland, and we went to an aquarium, and we took the BART train a lot, and we went to the San Francisco Giants game, since her husband took us to the boat area to take the boat to the Giants game, and we went and saw the Giants game. Oh yeah, there was this nice TV video that we saw, that the baseball teammates were paddleboarding while standing, and one of them fell in the water, and we couldn't imagine how super cold it was back then. But after the Giants game, we took the some train to like some BART area, and then we took the long BART ride, and we stayed up so late, and then I wanted to get to bed. And as a kid, I did not like staying up that late since I learned about sleep schedule time. But my brother always likes to stay up late. And we took our car to Santa Cruz, and we actually went to Great America when we saw my grandma. And we actually went back to Great America again 7 years ago, since I had some problems from high school, about this high school incident, what gave me crap. But I'm not going to talk about it. And then after 2020, we went and visited my grandma. We visited her. We visited her again back in 2022, since it was my idea to go see her. And we used to FaceTime each other once a week. And she stayed at somewhere in Rohnert Park. And when we went to go visit her back in 2022, somewhere in September, we weren't able to rent a car in the Oakland airport or anywhere in Oakland because they only allow credit cards. And we had a hard time since we had to Uber all the way from Oakland to Rohnert Park, and we stayed at some motel. And we actually found a rental car place in Santa Rosa where they allow debit cards. And none of us had our car insurance to rent a car except for me, because I saved us by getting a rent a car, and I had to drive the whole time, since they must have had to put the rent a car in my name, since I had to be in charge of driving the rental car, since we rented a 2015 Kia Soul. Oh, that I couldn't imagine that car was fun to drive. But I'm going to avoid wanting it anyway because it's really small. It's not that roomy. Trunk space is not that roomy, but once when we rented a car in Santa Rosa, later at night after dinner, we went for a drive to San Francisco and then we showed where our dad used to work in the ghetto area. Oh, driving around San Francisco in the ghetto area, I was so scared for the entire time because there was a lot of people crossing the street on drugs with the hand sign and the red light, and I bet most people were partying in the ghetto area in San Francisco, and all of a sudden I had to keep cutting the driver off so many times to get by, and there's a part that my dad told me to go when the light was green, and there was a guy on drugs crossing the street in a red light and a hand sign, and then I had to get going, and then, oh, and the crazy part was that truck almost backed into us when we were driving. It almost hit us. The truck almost hit us while in reverse, and there's some crazy drivers, and my dad was like, "Hey!" And then that scared the living hell out of me too. And then good thing we didn't get into any accidents in San Francisco, since I was scared driving in San Francisco the whole time. And then by towards the end, I got irritated by my old roommate who kept wanting me to give him rides to places. But I can't imagine San Francisco, the ghetto area where my dad used to work, to pick up trash all around the world. How there's many homeless people and many drug people. There are tragic accidents in that San Francisco, that Gary area where the crime is, and then somehow they started to shut the stores down because many people were on drugs, stealing stuff without paying, stuff like that. And that's all. And then back in December of 2022, we moved her out here in Arizona, and she lived here for 2.5 years, and then she lived in Arizona for the rest of her life, and then she recently passed away. Since we went out to dinner with her once a week during the week, and then she spent Christmas with us, and that's all, and somehow Thanksgiving for sure. And that's it. Alright, that's going to do it for the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.